Going on, Knicks fans? What is going on, Knicks fans? We are back live yet again talking about the latest Knicks offseason news and rumors. Woo, there's a lot to break down in this show. Hope you guys are all having a fantastic day. It is 5:15 EST PM. And I got a lot because there's so much news, so many rumors about the Knicks potentially landing another big-time piece in the trade market. And in this show, I want to provide my thoughts of all the rumors, all the latest here on Knicks Media. We're live on Bleach Report. We're live on YouTube. Hope you guys are having a fantastic evening. Let's get straight into business. First and foremost, I want to hear your guys' thoughts in the chat. Which player do you guys want the New York Knicks to go after? Let me know in the chat right now. I want to hear from Knicks fans. Let me know. All right. So, first rumor I want to talk about, first report is about, and as you can see, all the players that's on the slideshow on the screen are from all the players the New York Knicks are, according to all the people on social media that the Knicks are linked to. Now, we already know about Walker Kessler. We already know about Nick Richards. Those two players, we had reports to talk about. We already talked about it here on Bleach Report. We talked about it already on my YouTube channel as well. Now, I want to start off with Walker Kessler. I want to talk about that because apparently the Utah Jazz want a lot. And that's not shocker. That's not a shocker, by the way, because we know as Knicks fans what it's like to deal with Danny Ainge. Okay, Danny Ainge and the New York Knicks and Leon Rose, they were trying to trade for Donovan Mitchell, which fell through, okay? And I think that based off of what we've seen, the Utah Jazz has rejected an offer of 2 first-round picks for Walker Kessler. Now, there's no guarantee, there's no report saying that that's what the Knicks offer was. We did see a Bleacher Report trade proposal that was that looked pretty good. It was like Jericho Sims and a Knicks first-round pick for Walker Kessler. Now, that is something I can get behind. But listen, we know what Danny Ainge is all about. He wants to maximize his ability to get the most out of whatever team is trying to trade for a guy. Walker Kessler, I think, would be a big-time addition to the Knicks. Now, I don't want to overpay him. I do think that a first-round pick would be a good price to pay. 2 first-round picks is a steep price. And the Utah Jazz apparently rejected that. That was from SNY's own Ian Begley reporting that, which I definitely do value his source 110%. So let me know your thoughts. Would you guys want to trade more than 2 first-round picks for a guy like Walker Kessler? Love to hear what you guys have to say in the chat right now, because I personally think that the Knicks giving up 2 first-round picks for Walker Kessler would be a steep price. Now, Nick Richards is another guy the Knicks are linked to from the Charlotte Hornets. This is a player that I definitely feel like would fit what the Knicks are trying to do, but according to a lot of people, the Knicks are interested in him just like they were interested in Walker Kessler. Now, we saw that report come out from Hoops Hype last week. We talked about it already. And remember, these are all rumors. These are all reports. We don't really know what's true or not, but that's basically the 2 players that the Knicks have been interested in from the jump of this entire situation. When we found out that Isaiah Hartenstein is on his way out, and Isaiah Hartenstein is now officially a member of the Oklahoma City Thunder. All right, now another thing about this whole situation between Walker Kessler and Nick Richards, I would be okay with one of those two, but hey, there's another player out there that, according to people around the league, the Knicks are interested in. Now, this specific source, I don't really know if I value it. It's Mark Bergman, okay? If you guys don't know who Mark Bergman is, he was a New York Post journalist for the New York Knicks. He covered the Knicks for a while, but he's now retired, okay? Mark Bergman, he used to have sources, but now he's out there, and he tweeted out 6 hours ago saying that Leon Rose was at first row of a presser yesterday with McCall's mother, didn't talk, but he's still cooking, wants to make a big center move after Philly's 2 additions. Heard Houston's Sengun has been on the radar, even Detroit's Jalen Duren, and that was before Pistons got Paul Reed. So this report is going everywhere on the NBA Twitter world, that now they're referencing Mark Berman as the source to this. I'm going to be honest, I am not thinking of a Mark Berman as a reliable source. I'm not. I can't look at it with like full conviction and full trust that Mark Berman is telling a truth here. No disrespect to him, but I thought he's retired. But hey, he does raise some interesting discussions here because I think the Knicks would be smart to call the Detroit Pistons about Jalen Duren. I think they would be smart to call the Houston Rockets about Sengun. Absolutely. Those two players would fit what the Knicks are doing. They fit the timeline. They fit the dynamic with Mitchell Robinson. So I think the Knicks should definitely be interested in those two guys. And then last but not least, our very own. Now, out of all the reporters that we're referencing here, the one guy I trust out of all these people the most is our own CP the Franchise from Knicks Fan TV. He was on his show, I believe yesterday, and he goes out there and said the Knicks are still interested in Karl-Anthony Towns. How about that timing? Right when I say his name, he comes on the slideshow. Okay, so shout out to CP the Franchise. He reported this himself on his show, and he talked about it on Twitter as well. The Knicks are interested in Karl-Anthony Towns. Now, this makes sense because Tom Thibodeau was with Minnesota when the Timberwolves brought in Karl-Anthony Towns. They were a good team over there. Now, the thing that we have to discuss about the Karl-Anthony Towns situation is very simple. There's no Karl-Anthony Towns trade without giving up Julius Randle. And we have to watch the Julius Randle contract extension because if the Knicks do not extend Julius Randle, he is going into a contract year, and you'd have to assume the Knicks are going to want something in return back from Julius Randle and not let him walk. Okay, now I'm pretty sure the Knicks are not able to extend Julius Randle until August, so they have until August to start their negotiations. But Julius Randle has 2 years on his deal, but he has a player option after this season. So if the Knicks want to trade Julius, bring in Karl-Anthony Towns, that's an option for them. Now, Karl-Anthony Towns fits exactly what the Knicks want to do from an offensive standpoint. Can you imagine a lineup of Jalen Brunson and who would be starting? Probably Dante would be starting if we give up Julius with Bridges, OG, and Karl-Anthony Towns, or Josh Hart would start. It's up for debate. Now, you guys know how I feel about Julius Randle. I do not want to trade Julius. I do not want to trade Julius Randle. I want to go out on a limb right now and puff my chest out and say I do not want the New York Knicks to trade Julius Randle. I simply don't. I think a lot of Knicks fans are forgetting about who Julius is. They're forgetting about what he did this past season and forgetting that he's the second best player on this Knicks team. He's the second leading scorer next to Jalen Brunson. And I think in an all-in-one season, I'd rather Knicks just hold it down, extend Julius, and run it with this squad. But at the end of the day, we got to talk about this because CP the Franchise is saying the Knicks are interested in Karl-Anthony Towns, and I could definitely see why. The CAA connection, Tom Thibodeau connection, he fits the timeline. The Timberwolves are in a really interesting cap situation, so maybe they want to offload their contract. All right? So there's a lot of guys. Okay? So let me know your thoughts in the comment section about who you want the New York Knicks to bring in. I wish they could bring in a guy like Walker Kessler by giving up a few draft picks and maybe Jericho or something like that. But at the end of the day, I think that the New York Knicks would be smart to bring in a player in the trade market like a Jalen Duren. I don't know if we need to go after a big splash like Karl-Anthony Towns right now. Now, if that happens, you know I'd be excited. Don't get me wrong here, but I'm just so bought in on Julius, bro. I'm just so brought in on Julius, man. I really, really am. I think that Julius Randle is the piece of this Knicks roster that makes it complete, right? Let's not forget, we're getting Julius Randle as an offseason addition this year. He was hurt in the playoffs. We saw our guys in the postseason without Julius Randle. We saw the entire Knicks roster without Julius Randle in the postseason, and we went to Game 7 of round number 2. Can you imagine if Julius was healthy, not to mention everybody else who was injured around him? This is what it's about, man. I think that when Julius is back and loaded up with this Knicks team, with the fully healed up wrist of Jalen Brunson and Mikal Bridges joining the roster with OG Anunoby and I don't got to go over this entire roster. You know how deep and loaded it is. And with Randle being a secondary scorer next to Brunson with the talent around him, it's elite. But at the end of the day, the Knicks do have something to figure out here with the backup center position. Because I don't think Knicks fans are comfortable. I don't even think the New York Knicks as an organization is comfortable with going out there with Mitchell Robinson, Jericho Sims, and Ariel Hukporti, who just signed a two-way contract as our only three centers. You also have to keep in mind, there is a player we have to keep in mind that could be potential part of a sign and trade, and that's Precious Achiuwa. The Knicks have not signed him back. They have his bird rights, which means they can use him in a sign and trade situation. Just like we did with Shake Milton. And we included Shake Milton in the trade for Bridges. For a cap situation, we could sign and trade Precious Achiuwa for one of these centers. Or we sign Precious Achiuwa and we use that MLE on a guy that's still available in free agency. There's a lot of different avenues, but I always come back to this. I have full trust in Leon Rose, okay? I believe in Worldwide West. I believe in Brock Aller. All the folks at the top of the Knicks front office, Knicks fans deserves their trust, okay? Everybody should believe in what the New York Knicks are doing with those guys upstairs, because I really do think that what the Knicks are doing here and everything they've shown up until this point has made me start to blindly trust them. And I got to be honest with you guys. I'm very consistent. I did not trust Leon Rose when we first came here. I didn't trust him at first. He had to win my trust. And honestly, he's won my trust. He completely won my trust. Based off what I've seen from him these last few off seasons, because every move he made, everybody reacted to it with a negative type of connotation. Oh, the Knicks did their whole offseason 2 years ago was centered around bringing in Jalen Brunson. Oh, the Knicks overpaid for Brunson. That's their whole move. That's their big addition. Yeah, look how that worked out 2 years ago. Okay, last year, their narrative around the NBA, their only offseason addition was Dante DiVincenzo. That's it. He's going to move the needle for us. Okay, Dante's now getting underpaid, number one. Number two, he went out there and broke the Knicks franchise record and was an absolute dog. The Josh Hart trade at first, people were questioning, is he worth the first-round pick? Now look at Josh Hart, one of the best glue players in the entire NBA. He's also underpaid when we extended him. The Knicks, when we traded for OG Anunoby, a lot of Knicks fans were upset at first on the surface, and I think the Knicks fans were just upset at that trade just because we, as Knicks fans, we grow an attachment to our players. We loved Emmanuel Quickley. Most Knicks fans, some didn't, loved RJ Barrett. And at first, we're like, whoa, why do we make the trade? But then you let it marinate and you realize, okay, that's why. Because we were focused on what we were giving up and not really focusing in on what we got back, which was a dog and OG Anunoby. So that trade, excellent. Every move Leon Rose has made was for these types of moves. Another thing that Knicks fans and other NBA critics were criticizing Leon Rose on. What is he doing with all these draft picks? Why is he stockpiling all these first-round picks? When is he going to make a move? He's been patient, he's been articulate, and he waited for the move, and it turned into Bridges. The Knicks had to overpay for Bridges, and I would do it 10 times over again. When you trade with a crosstown rival like the Brooklyn Nets, you got to pay a little tax, number one. Number two, the Knicks did not include any player in that trade that with value, which means you got to give up extra draft picks. That's that simple, man. It's that simple. So I really think that what Leon Rose has done to this point should make Knicks fans feel comfortable about the roster and the plan going forward in the front court. If I'm the Knicks, I'd be aggressive for another big player. I definitely feel like Leon Rose is going to be aggressive. You know that he's sensing something here. Just like us Knicks fans, we are sensing a Knicks championship potential. Okay, we've never been this close to contending with the league's best. Last year, we were like, okay, we added Dante. We're coming off a second-round exit. Let's try to go into the Eastern Conference Finals and make an improvement. And that's exactly what the Knicks did, minus getting to the Eastern Conference Finals. We won 50 games. We were the second seed in the Eastern Conference. But now, this offseason, after adding Bridges and adding OG at the trade deadline and getting Randle healthy, now we have a legit chance for a title. Okay, you look at the Knicks' potential starting five, it is ridiculous. Jalen Brunson, Bridges, Anunoby, Randle, and Robinson with Josh Hart, Dante, off the bench with Deuce McBride. What are we doing here? I know the backup center position is the big question mark. Right now it's Jericho Sims. I get all that. That's why we're talking about the latest news and rumors regarding who the Knicks are going to bring in. Will they go after a guy like Jalen Duren, who's a young, uprising piece in that Detroit Pistons organization, which obviously I don't really know what the Pistons' plan is. They traded Grimes to Dallas for what? Tim Hardaway Jr. and draft compensation, right? What's their plan? I mean, if there's one organization around the NBA that I'll never understand if they have a plan, it's the Detroit Pistons. No disrespect. Nick Richards for Charlotte. There was a rumor swirling that the Knicks are interested in giving up Deuce McBride for Nick Richards. Now, I wouldn't go that far. I wouldn't do that. You do that? No. No, thank you. Keep me Deuce. Deuce McBride needs to be on this team, bro. Deuce McBride needs to be on this team. He is someone that changes the Knicks dynamic. He's the only player on the Knicks right now that is, you can put that elite category next to his name from a defensive standpoint at the guard spot. We have two elite wing defenders in OG and Bridges, but Brunson's not an elite defender. Dante, he's good at defending, but I wouldn't put him in elite. I'd say he's an excellent defender from a standpoint from a team. He can buy into the system, gets into the passing lanes. He's aggressive, but Deuce brings energy on defense. He can pick you up full court. He can get into you. Let's not forget when Deuce McBride first got his first opportunity this past season starting next to Jalen Brunson, it was because we were going to Golden State against the Warriors. That was such a fun game this season, man. And Tom Thibodeau put Deuce McBride on Steph Curry, and he did a phenomenal job on Steph Curry. Deuce McBride is the guy that will match up against the opposing team's best guard. While we have OG and Bridges who can also match up against that guard and also match up against the wings. I mean, they can guard 1 through 5. That's what makes this Knicks team so dynamic is we have two players who can guard 1 through 5. And then we have Mitchell Robinson when healthy is arguably one of the better rim protectors in the entire NBA. Okay? Now, let's talk about Sengun real quick. I know that a lot of Knicks fans were talking about him even on my channel weeks ago. I don't know why Houston would give him up. The Houston Rockets are in an interesting situation right now. If you're Houston, why would you give up on him? Right? I don't know why you'd want to give up Sengun, who is 21 years old, coming off 2 big-time seasons. I mean, he broke out in year 2. In year 2 at Houston, he put up 21 points per game, shooting an efficient 53.7% from the field, 9.3 rebounds, and 5 assists and a steal per game. I mean, this is a guy that is a rising star, in my opinion. And the Houston Rockets, they need young talent. They need youth. So I don't know what type of trade the Knicks can pull off to land Sengun. I think that is way more of a pipe dream. Way more of a pipe dream. Why would the Rockets trade him? I mean, I can answer this. The Knicks, they should be interested in Sengun. Right? They should be calling Houston and be like, hey, we want him. But if you're the Rockets, why would you trade him? I mean, you got him matched in with Green as your two, promising young pieces for the future. You're a rebuilding team. Houston kind of showed some flashes last year, right? I mean, they kind of proved some people wrong. I'm pretty sure they had like a good start to the season, and then they kind of finished off the season disappointing, right? I mean, you look at their roster. They got Jalen Green and Sengun, and then outside of that, they brought in Shepherd, but, Reed Shepherd as the sharpshooter from the draft. But, like, at the end of the day, who are the Houston Rockets? They're rebuilding. They're adding youthful talent. I mean, they were 500 last year. I think that's a positive. They were 41-41 last year. So, if you're the Rockets, why are you trading Sengun? So, that's what I'm thinking about it. You got to look at it from two sides. The Knicks should definitely be the team to be aggressive for Sengun. But if you're the Rockets, don't you want to build around a rising stud that you drafted in the first round 2 years ago? I mean, that's how I look at it, folks. That's how I look at it. The Rockets drafted him with the 16th overall pick in the 2021 draft. When you draft somebody at that pick, definitely not in the lottery, and they start playing this well, that's the guy you want to build your team around. Okay? So that's how I'm looking at it. Knicks fans got to realize in this business, it takes 2 to tango. The Knicks can't just trade for Sengun. The Rockets got to be interested to trade him. Okay? I think that if we do get him, watch out. Watch out. The Turkish player would come here, and Knicks fans would fall in love with him. Now, Walker Kessler, I think, is the most likely to become a New York Knick. Every time I say a name, he comes on the slideshow, by the way. Because Walker Kessler fits the timeline. He is a rim protector. He can be a low post scorer. He's an efficient rebounder. He can hit his free throws. Okay? He played on the USA team last year with Brunson and Bridges and Josh Hart. There's chemistry there. He's young. He did not really step up in year number 2, which is why I think his value right now is at a low. Not according to Danny Ainge. I'm not even going to take 2 first-round picks. What? Not 2 first-round picks? You won't even take 2 first-round picks. That's where I'm like, okay, maybe Walker Kessler's not going to be a Knick. Maybe he's not. And then I feel like Knicks fans just got to open up their minds to a lot of different scenarios, bro. A lot of different scenarios. We cannot go into the season with Mitchell Robinson and Jericho Sims and Huck Porty. I mean, a lot of people are already assuming that Precious Achiuwa is back. He's not. Not yet, at least. I think the best case of action is to bring back Precious and find a way to bring in one of these guys. But that's going to be hard to do. That's going to be hard to do. And I think that Knicks fans also need to realize that these are all speculations. And definitely talk about the Jalen Duren and the Sengun report. It was from Mark Bergman. Please don't take that as a real source. The source that we have to look at is Ian Begley of SNY. That is a source. Hoops Hype has been on it. Okay, Fred Katz from The Athletic as well. CP The Franchise, Knicks Fan TV. Those are the people that you can actually, when they say something, you listen. Now, I can admit openly, I have no sources. I don't claim to have sources. I'm just here talking about the rumors and the news just like you guys see it, so we can bring in a conversation and debate who'd be good, who'd be not good to bring it in. Now, when it comes on Karl-Anthony Towns, the Knicks are reportedly interested in him per CP The Franchise of Knicks Fan TV. I don't know if that's someone I want the Knicks to trade for right now. Like, Julius Randle's a dog. He fits the New York grit. Does Karl-Anthony Towns, do you guys think he can handle the New York? Julius has proven he's up and down in terms of handling New York, but at this point, I think Julius Randle has thick enough skin and understands the city enough to be a Knick. Can Karl-Anthony Towns come here and, like, there's a big narrative around Cat that he's a little soft, right? Julius is no soft. He's a dog. He's that bully. And if you're Minnesota, let's not forget, they were just in the Western Conference Finals, right? They just almost were in the NBA Finals. With Anthony Edwards becoming one of the faces of the league, and with Rudy Gobert and Cat, they definitely have a win-now team. They are in a very, very interesting cap situation, but you got to look at it from this perspective here. The Knicks have a big decision to make with Julius Randle. If you don't extend Julius, he's entering a contract year. If you're Leon Rose of the Knicks, you do not want Julius to walk next year and you get nothing in return. That's how you got to look at it. They got to have a conversation with Julius and say, listen, if this is the contract we can offer you, if you're not going to take it, then we're going to have to trade you. But at the end of the day, I hope that doesn't happen because I want to see this Knicks team out there with Julius, bro. 100%. 110%. I'm noticing a lot of people in the chat. I'm going to put up a poll. I'm going to put up a poll in the chat right now, folks. Who would you rather have, Karl-Anthony Towns or Randle? Because I'm seeing a bunch of different options, a bunch of different answers. So if you see in the chat right now, I'm going to create a poll for you guys to debate in the chat. For you guys to debate. The poll is currently live right now on Bleacher Report. Let's make the poll right now on YouTube. Cat or Randle? And basically keeping perspective here that you have to give up more than just Randle to get Cat probably. Now, I'm going to tell you guys where I stand on this. I vote Randle. That's what I vote. I vote Randle. You should too, honestly. You're talking about a guy who's been here, who understands. I mean, it's 24 points, 10 rebounds, 5 assists is not growing trees. Karl-Anthony Towns would change the dynamic of this team from an offensive standpoint. But I don't know, man. It'll be hard for somebody to convince me that this Knicks team is better with Karl-Anthony Towns over Julius Randle. Let's not forget who Julius is, a multi-time All-Star. Let's not pretend that he's just this guy that Knicks fans just overhype. What Randle needs to prove is being healthy, number one, and perform in the playoffs. That's the missing piece of Julius Randle. All right? That's how we look at it. And you also got to look at the team fit, the chemistry. Now, Cat does know what it's like to play under Tom Thibodeau, so I don't think he'd have a lot of time of adjusting, that he needs to figure out how to adjust to Tom Thibodeau's system. But at the end of the day, man, yeah, my man in the chat says Randle destroyed Towns this year at the Garden. Yes, he did. Yes, he did. Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Now, another thing that we have to talk about, my man in the chat reminds us about the Jalen Brunson contract. Now, according to Fred Katz of The Athletic, we made a video on my channel, I believe yesterday or 2 days ago about this. Jalen Brunson has a very interesting decision to make. He could leave $113 million on the floor, give that to the Knicks if he signs an extension this year. Or Jalen Brunson can wait and sign an extension with the Knicks after this season, which would be a mega contract. That's something to watch out for. If Jalen Brunson signs that deal, he just blessed the New York Knicks for a lot more cap flexibility to build the championship roster around him. So that's another thing we got to look at is Jalen Brunson. Will he sign that extension with the Knicks this offseason, or will he wait for next offseason? Let's wait and see about that. Now, just going over these last few reports, last few rumors, guys. Don't forget to hit the like button, by the way, on your way in, and subscribe if you're watching live on YouTube, and follow me here on Bleacher Report at Richie Malora. We do lots of live shows here. I appreciate you guys tuning in. A lot of Knicks coverage coming your way. Don't forget to like, man. Let's get over 100 likes, Knicks fans, on YouTube, and subscribe and follow me here on Bleacher Report. I appreciate you guys. I'm also going to link my profile on Bleacher Report on YouTube so you guys can follow me along here on the Bleacher Report live stream. Let's go. Now, I think that what the Knicks fans have to value here is the fit and the price for these guys. That's the two things that Leon Rose is talking about. What's the fit from a culture standpoint? Something I noticed that Leon Rose is very, 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 very adamant about is culture. Every press about when the Knicks re-signed OG Anunoby and they released a statement of what Leon Rose had to say, he mentioned culture like 3 times. When the Knicks traded for Bridges and they released a Leon Rose statement, they talked about the culture. The Knicks are not bringing anybody in here that does not fit what the Knicks culture is, and that's grit, that's toughness, that's selflessness, all these things. Okay? So you got to understand the chemistry is important. We can't just bring in somebody that's not going to fit on this Knicks roster. You got to value character. You got to value all these different things. So I think Karl-Anthony Towns would fit the Knicks culture from a teammate standpoint. Now, would he fit the identity of the Knicks? Tough, gritty? I don't know. That's up for debate, right? You talk about the Knicks, you talk about bully ball. You talk about gritty. Does Cat fit that? I feel like a lot of people look at Cat as soft. So that's where it looks at. When you talk about fit, it's like Karl-Anthony Towns fits from a scheme standpoint. Tom Thibodeau, he's played with him before. Teammates, I think he'd fit offensively, but I don't know if he fits from the toughness standpoint on the defensive side of the ball, man. That's how I look at it. Is also his contract ridiculous. His contract is unreal. I don't know if I want to inherit that. So the poll is in on Bleacher Report. 58% of you guys say Randle. 42% says Cat. And on YouTube, 70% says Randle. 30% says Cat. All right, so that's the end of the poll. Very interesting stuff. So, folks, my name is Richie here live on Knicks Media. Hope you guys have a fantastic rest of your Wednesday evening. I'm going to wrap up the show here. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. It's been a pleasure. The Knicks are going to be making a move in the next week or two. It's just a matter of who and when it will happen. I cannot wait to see who it's going to be. Let me know your thoughts in the comments when the show is wrapped up. Who you predict will be a New York Knick after Leon Rose makes his next trade. There's a lot of different ways the Knicks can go about this. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Hit that like button on your way out and follow me here on Bleacher Report. I'll catch you guys in the next show. I'll see you guys next time. Have a great rest of your Wednesday night. And as always, Let's go, Knicks. Peace out, everybody.